Olá a todos, bem-vindos a mais um projeto da Associação MVC. Desta vez, o nosso novo projeto chama-se Let's Talk, em português, Vamos Conversar. Este projeto surgiu em parceria com a instituição OIP, Oeste International Partners, e consiste em haver uma conversa semanal entre um estrangeiro e um português. A conversa será realizada em inglês ou na língua que seja mais acessível a ambas as partes. E será uma conversa fluida sobre costumes, experiências, gostos em comum, todos os temas que possam imaginar. Bem-vindos a este novo projeto Let's Talk. Vamos conversar? Hello everybody, welcome to a new project from Associação MVC. This time our new project is called Let's Talk, in Portuguese, Vamos Conversar. This project appeared from a partnership with OIP, Oeste International Partners, and it consists in a weekly conversation between a foreigner and a Portuguese person. These conversations are going to be natural, about experiences, common tastes, and all the themes you can imagine. Welcome to this new project. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new episode of Let's Talk. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, my name's Lynn Birch. I live in Portugal now, but I was originally from Colchester in England.
Hello, my name is Mariana and I'm Portuguese and I always lived here. I was never in England. Not very interesting. So, first of all, why did you choose Portugal to live in?
My husband and I looked at everything about your country, but the main thing was we'd been on holiday here, fallen in love with all of the types of scenery. I love the sea, so I swim in the sea a lot. And we just loved the friendliness of the people. I like the food. My husband's not that keen on your Portuguese food. It's too salty for him. But for us, it was the weather, it was the people. Also, this sounds awful, but the financial benefit was very good for us, for our pensions. And we felt as though we could come to a country that has always liked England. So we have been a big ally with Portugal for a long, long time. So we felt very comfortable and at home. So yeah, I love it. Nice. Absolutely love. I would never go back to England to live.
But when you went on holidays, you went here in our city?
Oh, I've been all over. I love Italy. Italy is my favourite country, I hate to say, in the whole world. But I like going there on holiday. I don't think I want to live there.
Yeah.
But living here in Portugal, we still go on holiday to the Caribbean. We go to all parts of Portugal. It's great.
And Portugal is an interesting country to know and has a lot of places to visit.
And some fantastic historical places to go and see. And to actually to learn about the country, it's good.
About the country and about every place in the world. Actually, Portugal was a very important country when we started finding new places and searching. We were important. So let me think. Today's conversation is supposed to be about elderly, and actually I could start with my experience. That's very little.
Please do.
I have a project that appeared in the first lockdown here in Portugal, of course, and we started go singing in front of everyone's windows. The project is actually called Cantigas à Janela, which is songs in the windows, pretty much.
That's incredible.
And now our first goal was to go on on houses with the elderly people. Because my grandmother was living in one house like that, and we wanted to be closer to her because we couldn't visit her, we couldn't touch her, and we couldn't hug her. It was very hard. And actually, in the first lockdown, we didn't even visit her, not even through the windows, because we couldn't go out. But then we started this project and went singing to her, and she was very sick when we went there. And we went there, and the next day she was up and she was happier. It was very powerful for her.
Good for her well-being.
Yeah. And then we sang to everyone in the home, and they were very happy because no one can be with their families now. So it was a way to bring happiness to those people.
So you stand outside in the road?
Yeah.
And you sing through the windows?
Yeah.
So does everybody come to the windows to listen to you? So you have an audience, or do they still sit in the room?
It depends. Now that the weather is colder, they can't come out because they're very fragile and we have to be careful.
Yes.
Even with our well-being, maybe it can prejudice us and them.
Yes.
But then at the time it was summer, so in some of those places people would come out and sitting in the sun and just listening to us like it was a concert. And it was very.
And did they join in? Did they join in with the songs or not?
Yeah, because we have different songs that we sing for them, special songs that they know that reminds them of their childhoods, which is they're very popular songs that everyone knows. They learned it in school and when they were little. It's good for them to sing those songs because they start remembering things. And the other day we went to a home like that, and a lady said, "Oh, we used to sing this at school." She was crying and saying that she was reminded. Yeah, it was very powerful.
And that's nice because it will start people talking as well. Once you've gone, then they'll start reminiscing and say, "Can you remember this?" And it will help them to start having a bit more fun in their talk and in their chat.
Actually, we started again because we couldn't. We had another lockdown, so we couldn't go out again. But we started again going to homes. Before this lockdown, we used to go on everyone's windows, not only these houses, because we went to houses that of people that we knew, so it was very good for us too because we could be more connected with our families. It was better. And then we started to receive messages asking us to go somewhere to sing to someone, so we didn't have much time to go just for those houses. But
and
now,
is it just you and Pedro that does this, or have you got a group of people?
First of all, it was me, my mom, my sister, Pedro, that sings with me in our concerts, and his sister. But now we do our concerts, and it's just me and him. And to go to those homes, we go me, my mom, my sister, and him because his sister is working and doing other stuff. So she is an adult. She doesn't have much opportunities as.
And have you enjoyed doing it?
Yeah, now we are doing it again. We went to two different homes now. Last week we went to a new one. It didn't go very well because we couldn't be. The windows were too closed, so we couldn't. Our voices weren't going in. And it was very weird because all we could see was our reflection in the glass, which was very weird.
That's most strange.
We were singing to ourselves, and we always take pictures and publish it in our social social media.
Your English is very good.
Yeah, but I was like, this is so easy. Why am I? But then I was trying to take pictures and all we could see was us, and I was like, I wanted to take pictures and I can even do that. It was very weird. But I think that we have a very important power over people. We went to the same home 2 weeks um, after another, and it was very different the two times that we went there. The first time everyone was outside because it was a sunny day and it was good.
yes.
It was a good weather, and they were outside. And there was a lady that started singing with us, and she was like, "Oh, I know another one," and so she would sing alone, and she was the star of the moment. And then the second time that we went there, she knew that we were going to come, and she just didn't want to listen to us.
Oh.
Yeah, she said, "I'm 82 and I don't want to listen to any music." And then after like 20 minutes, she showed up crying, asking if we could sing another song for her.
Oh,
We were
that's
like,
sad.
"Of course." But maybe I don't think that people sometimes don't feel like it, but then
And it may have been a day that was an anniversary of somebody's death, so she
Yeah,
wasn't
maybe.
very happy in herself. And instead of telling somebody I'm not very happy, it comes out nasty.
Yeah.
And that's the problem when people they're not open, are they, with
Yeah.
how they feel? And the older you get, I think the more you don't want to let people know
Yeah.
how sad you feel.
But it was very weird because when
Yeah.
she came back, she was like nothing had happened, and we were like, "You didn't want to come see us," and she was like, "Oh, I'm good now." And then she started singing, and she was happy again. But this is a very hard public. At least, for example, my grandparents' age, it's very easy and very because I mean, they like what we sing and they enjoy music, and it's more important.
Yeah.
It's very easier. There, sometimes they fall asleep. Sometimes they don't care about our feelings, so they're like, "I don't like that song," and we're like, "We're doing our best to just make you happy," and it's very.
But when it's family, it's easier for them to say things like that.
Yeah.
When it's a stranger, it's not so easy.
Some of them are not able to understand that they are showing what they're feeling, and we're like, "You're not liking this." But it's a new challenge for us. It's also important.
I used to years when I was your age, I had really lovely grandparents, and I went into working with the elderly in the 1990s, thinking that everybody was like my grandparents. And I soon learned that not every elderly person was as sweet and lovely as my gran and my granddad. So it was a big learning curve for me at the age of, I think I was 40, to actually find that people weren't as nice as they were older as I thought they were going to be. And it was strange how the different perspectives of each other was different every day. I had two ladies that lived in I used to work in private retirement homes, so we had a communal garden, and these two ladies lived next door to each other in this block of flats, lovely block of flats. I think there was 50 flats all in all. They had beautiful gardens, they had a big lounge. And the gardener one day was out there, and this lady in say like flat A said, "You haven't touched that weed in front of my neighbour's window. Why haven't you touched that weed?" And he said, "It's not a weed." "Yes, it is." And so he said, "I'm not getting into an argument, I'm afraid." He said, "But I would suggest you go and see the house manager who was in charge." Anyway, she went to see the house manager, and I was there that day. And she came in really angry. "Their gardener is leaving weeds in the garden, and I've told him to take this weed out." And I said, "Well, hold on, let's find out why that weed is there, if it is a weed." Anyway, we went and knocked on this lady's door, flat B, and her grandson had brought her this flower for her birthday, and she'd planted it just outside of her window so she could see it. So you've got one lady looking at this beautiful plant as a weed, and this other lady thinking, oh, that's a lovely flower, my grandson. And they hadn't spoken to each other about it. After that, they became firm friends, and they watched this flower bloom.
Yeah.
And it was incredible, but it was the difference in their attitudes that was quite shocking. And I think that's something that we as younger people can't take that on board, because we respect them, so they should be respecting what we think and do as well. So it's different. When you think of the elderly people that we've got in both of our countries, and there's an awful lot of elderly people in both countries. I think it's about 22% of the population in your country and in the UK. Those people have had a fantastic lifetime. They've done so much things. They've got such a lot of skill sets still within their own capabilities.
Yeah.
But we class them all as old people, or seniors, I think you call them here. But we look at them as though they've finished their jobs.
Yeah.
What do we do with them? All we have to do now is provide money for them to live on.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for younger people like yourself, and I think what you're doing is great, because you're actually going to sing and make elderly people happy without even having to speak to them. By just lifting their spirits, you're doing a big service for the elderly people, and I think it's a wonderful thing that you've started doing. Hopefully you'll keep it going, even after the lockdown.
Yeah, we are thinking about keeping it, because in our busy lives we never take time to really think about what they're going through. And actually I call her grandmother because I was used to call her grandmother. She passed away after she had the virus.
Oh no.
Yeah, she survived through the virus, but then she couldn't make it. But it was her time. She was oh, it's okay.
I have an allergy. I'm sorry.
Portugal.
Yes.
But yeah, she was sick for a lot of time, and we were always thinking, when will she go? Why is she still fighting for her life? And I really am starting to think that maybe she waited till I don't know, this could happen. We could cheer her up, and maybe she could feel a little closer to us, because
absolutely,
she was, maybe, I don't know, but there are a lot of people who think that they're abandoned by their families, because some of them don't understand what's going on in the world, and it must be very hard for them.
And the world is changing, because families move away. They're not in the same town, same village as in Portugal now. A lot of the younger people in Portugal move away for jobs. I went to Jersey one year, and everybody I spoke to was from Portugal. In this hotel, it was fantastic, and they were even teaching us how to count in Portuguese and how to say good morning, good afternoon, and it was fun. But we were surprised at how many people had left this wonderful country of yours and gone. But they said the opportunities were out there.
But in a generation, for example, my generation, I think that maybe we will have more opportunities.
I hope so.
But for example, my parents' generation was different, because not everyone was going to college and taking courses, but now everyone goes to college and have a degree. It's more, I don't know, it's more valuable, maybe.
And also, hopefully, you will put back into Portugal what is needed.
Yeah.
And that's a big step for you, because the people that you're talking about in these homes probably didn't have that opportunity when they were younger. They lived in a different era, didn't they?
Actually, I saw a movie documentary in one of my classes from school, because what I'm taking in school has to geography has to do with people also, and where do people live, and for example, elderly people usually lives in villages, and not every elderly people, of course, but um, most part of them lives out of the city, and yeah. And in that movie, we saw a man, old man, saying that he never saw the sea in his life.
In his life.
Yeah, because he was working and his parents were working, so they couldn't take him to see just to just look at the sea. It was very scary.
That was scary.
Yeah, and
especially when you've got such a huge coastline.
Yeah, but he lived in a village very far from the sea. But it was very interesting to just think, wow, these people really
and we
don't
take
have
that for
access.
granted, don't we?
Yeah.
We take it for granted that we can go to Lisbon. We take it for granted that we can go to the sea anytime we want. We can either get on the bus, we can get on the train, we can get in the car, and we just go. And it's strange because my mother in the war was taught to drive so that she could go around the farms to pick up eggs. But she was the only person in my family that could drive. My grandmother, my grandfather couldn't drive it. They didn't have that type of money. They lived on a farm, but my mum was taught to drive at a very early age and stopped when she was 80.
Yeah.
And she had that one opportunity to learn, and she took it. She could have said, no, I don't want to. And then her whole life would have been different. Yeah. Because my father never drove. And actually, my husband doesn't drive. So I drive, but my husband doesn't. Yeah. Now he's 70 and he doesn't drive. He's never driven. Now that is unbelievable. Yeah. But he has been everywhere that he has to, by public transport, by you, by me, by bicycle, bus, and anything. But at the end of the day, he has never wanted to drive. Yeah, nowadays everyone drives. Everyone, because it's such an easy way of transport, isn't it? And it's nowadays maybe it's more necessary to drive. Yes, I think so. Because most people work out of their town, and I think it's a bit like computers. You've grown up with computers. Yeah. I didn't grow up with computers. So a computer was not on our educational. We were learning how a computer could work by a thing called binary numbers. But you wouldn't even learn that nowadays. You would just, like our grandchildren, you give them a laptop and they're straight away. You give them a remote control for the TV. And they know exactly what they're doing. Yeah. And there's me going, what are you doing now? So it is a strange way of it's actually of aging, but differently, isn't it? I honestly, I don't think that's very healthy. But I have a cousin who is very little, and he didn't know how to write yet, but he knew how to write the videos that he wanted to watch, and it was like he didn't know what he was writing, but he knew that was what he wanted to see. And it's actually very scary what we are doing to our babies. But also, not being funny, without the technology, this lockdown would have been awful for people like myself who live away from my family. Yeah, but maybe if it was a few years ago, let's think in a perfect world where things work as I am going to say. But maybe if people were more connected to the earth and what's really important, maybe we could spend time doing other things that can be more important than studying things that we will never talk about in our life. Yes. And maybe we could have, instead of watching movies and
and I don't know, videos. We could have been watching our streets and what's going on out there. And
But I think everything changed so quickly.
yeah,
Once technology came into being, we haven't looked back.
yeah,
We don't even work really with cash anymore.
yeah.
I used to be paid by cash at the end of each week, and that's something that you will never ever have. And to actually explain to somebody who's maybe in their 90s plus that you have to use this plastic card into a machine in the wall to get their money out.
That's very weird.
It's a strange thing to actually have to show an elderly person this is how you have to do it nowadays, because they've always worked a different way.
Yeah. Here in Portugal, we hear a lot of stories of old people who hide their money in weird places, like inside of socks or shoes, or places that they don't even imagine that someone can guess. But nowadays, everyone knows where the money is because they hide it in the same place. All of them thinks that that's the smarter decision.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that's actually my idea of older people is changing. Maybe when I was little, I used to think that, for example, my grandparents were from a village that has more. They would plant their food and eat what the earth would give them, and everything was very natural and functional because they learned to live with that and
self-sufficiency.
Yeah, and
I should think.
yeah, it was. They didn't even imagine that they could live another way. That was the way that they lived, and I used to think that every old people would do that. Everyone had a farm and were doing things with chickens, and they had living chickens going around their yards. And for me, it was all the old people were the same. But nowadays, everyone is trying to learn more of technology. Grandparents are calling their grandchildren by WhatsApp or Zoom now, and it's everything. It's much easier, and older people are actually wanting to live my experience, to enter our new world, and it's very interesting.
I agree, because I think the elderly people nowadays, I'm talking about let's say over 70s, 75s, they have worked most of their lives, they've worked all their time. So it's different now that all of a sudden you're not working.
Yeah.
But your skill set is still there. So you hopefully your brain is still working and you can actually work out what you're doing. And I think that by keeping abreast of how technology is making our lives different, it keeps everybody with other people, so they don't feel ostracized. They don't feel that, oh, I'm an old person, put me in a cupboard and leave me.
Yeah.
People aren't like that anymore. They're changing because we are not old in our heads anymore.
Yeah.
We have worked in jobs that are professional jobs or whatever jobs we've been in. And I think that we have all of us collectively have got such a skill set that we still want to be useful. Yeah. And also we want to be useful to our families. We don't want to be a burden on our families as we get older.
Yeah.
And I think the way of the world is changing in that respect, because I think here in Portugal, the family still looks after the older persons in the family.
Which can become a problem for the family.
Yeah. And if you think about it, the extra monetary burden on that family to look after their elderly parents, even elderly aunts and uncles, etc., is a big monetary problem for people. Whereas for my generation of pensioners, we wouldn't want that burden. And also, where I lived in England, my daughter lived over 2 hours away by car.
Yeah.
Son lived over 2 hours away in a different direction. They weren't around.
Yeah.
So you knew you had to look after yourself and be prepared to be, you know, doing your retirement, doing whatever you're going to do in your own way.
Yeah.
So it's a different mindset how people in Portugal will still be looking after their families, whereas a lot of people in England, we're too far apart.
Yeah.
We don't live in the next street. We don't live in the same village. We live away. And it makes a different culture in the way that we look at our lives.
Yeah, here in Portugal, that happens, and some people that live far away from their kids and far away from their sons and daughters. Some of those people really need help, but they choose to stay in their places, living. Some of them live alone and don't have anyone to take care of them. And honestly, I think that depends on who we're talking about.
The person, yeah.
We have a question.
Oh, okay.
I can read it from here because I can see. The question here is how do the Portuguese, the older Portuguese view foreigners arriving in Portugal? So, from your experience, what do you think?
For the people I have spoken to, they're hoping that the way we are, the way we live, the way we look at life is going to show other people in Portugal that there is a different way of retirement.
Okay. Yeah.
We have a friendly taxi driver, and that was one of the first questions we asked him is, do Portuguese mind us coming into their country to live? And he said, you can only do good by bringing money into the economy, but also by bringing your ideas and your different ways of looking at things. And hopefully it will lift the elderly Portuguese retirement pension, and it will lift the different ways of looking at retirement. Because we don't look at retirement as that's it. It's a new career. At 65, we started a new career of being retired.
Yeah.
I jumped ship. I came to Portugal to enjoy my new career of retirement.
Yeah.
So I think that hopefully, the more that we can speak to the Portuguese people and they understand that we are enjoying living in their country, hopefully some of our ways and our thoughts might be good for them.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And now I'm thinking about when I'm older, if I would go through an experience, such a crazy experience like that. And maybe I would, because I would probably live in Portugal for my professional life, because once you get a job from what you've taken in college, it's very important to just keep that job, because maybe you won't find more opportunities, so you just stay.
Or you will go on holiday somewhere and you will see somewhere different and you'll think, this is a lovely way to live.
Yeah.
And an opportunity might say, oh, I could do my job here.
Yeah.
And then that's that big step to take.
Yeah.
It's a risk. And if you don't take a risk sometimes.
But honestly, here in Portugal, we're not very far away from our families. Because usually we look for jobs near our city, even if it's 1 hour away. It's very easy to have access, and so probably I'll stay here to be with my parents.
I think that's one of the nicest parts of the Portuguese culture is that your family is the main thing.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. when we go out and we see people, a whole family in the restaurant with grandma, granddad, right down to little tiny great granddaughter or whatever, they're all together and they're all very respectful and they're all enjoying being as a family.
Together,
and we tend to now, I think, in especially in England where I live, because we don't live very close to our families. We get together at different occasions. And it's hard now, especially as I'm getting older, it's funerals that we have to go to. We're waiting for weddings and christenings, but we get more of the end of the life occasions now. And
That's funny because
it is awful.
The way you said, I was like, oh my god, I wasn't expecting
But it's true.
Yeah.
And it's strange that, I met my cousins twice in a couple of months because I lost an uncle and a very dear aunt. So it's nice to meet them, but we don't meet them all the time.
Yeah.
And now we keep saying, oh, please don't let it be another funeral that we have to actually attend to see everybody. But we all live so far away from each other, whereas.
But you live in a bigger country. We have
absolutely.
a very small country.
You do.
It's easier.
Yeah,
but honestly, for me, in my family, we usually, before all of this pandemic situation, we used to meet every Sunday. Sunday it's family day here
I think that's
in Portugal.
wonderful.
Yeah. Every family usually meets in Sunday because it's the day that anyone works, and it's probably more easy to just be with your family. And actually, when I started dating my boyfriend, I was thinking like, once we're older and we have our own family, in which family will we spend our Sundays? We probably will have to have a schedule and think, okay, here we're going to go to this house, and then but we are very connected to our family.
Absolutely, and that's lovely. But that comes over in your way of life as well, and the way that people are so friendly and so nice to people like myself who come to live in your country, because people are very friendly to us.
So you feel at home?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
That's
and as long as I can master your wonderful language over the years, I will feel even more at home. I have been trying to learn Portuguese since we moved here, and I'm finding that some words stay and others don't stay at all. And I keep repeating the same sentence, and then somebody will talk to me and it will have gone completely out of my mind. So we are trying, and I think as long as we try, my husband is much better at language than I am, but as long as we try, when we're in shops or when we're talking to people, even if we say the wrong thing.
Yeah, but those simple things are very important. Now I wanted to get another point of my view of getting old. I was saying that maybe I will live my professional life here in Portugal, but I'm probably going to travel a lot, because actually it has always been a dream for me to just travel the world. I wanted to do that before I have kids, when honestly time runs very fast.
It certainly does.
And I have to study, and then I want to have kids early so that they can go away, and then I can do everything without them.
And also to enjoy them while you're young. Because the younger you are with your children, the easier it will be for you.
And I'll be a grandmother earlier, so it's more.
So where do you want to go first?
I don't know. Honestly, I would love to live in another country, for like working in another country, anywhere in the world. I would like to have that experience. But like I said, if I find a job, I will probably just stick with it.
What you need to do is find a job that what they call is transportable. So whatever you learn how to do, You can
Yeah.
take that to any country that you go to. And I think it's. Have we got another question?
I'm trying to read, but I don't think I
In
can.
an elderly.
Is an elderly a burden or an
A burden.
yeah, or an asset to Portuguese family?
So are they a burden or an asset to your family, the elderly people in your
Honestly,
family?
it depends on which family we're talking about. But sometimes it's very easy to support our older member.
Yes.
But in some other cases, it's very hard because taking care of someone that older, it takes time, much time, and money, which not every family has. So I don't think that's a burden for anyone who really cares about those people.
I agree.
But it can be hard and challenging.
I think it's hard when you have your own family with their needs as well,
Yeah.
and then you have to take that time out of that family to go and look after somebody else.
Yeah, but for example, here in Portugal, for example, my grandmother, my father's mother, she lives with her mother.
Wow.
Yeah, so she does everything because she lives with her. So
Yeah.
she's
Sure.
separated from my grandfather. So it's just the two of them. And when she cooks for both of them. When she take care of her, she take care of my grandmother.
I think that's
grandma.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's for her it's easy because she's just living with her. It's like she was uh I mean she was her partner.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
She's
As a daughter, I should think she has great loyalty to her mother and
yeah,
to
and
look
she's
after.
always they usually get mad for everything because they are both very complicated. And then she's like, oh, but I can't get mad at her because she's my mother and I have to do things for her. It's very funny because they're like two kids living together. It's very funny.
When my mother and my mother-in-law lost their husbands, they started a new chapter in their lives when they had no husbands, and families that were away. And my husband and I started taking them away on holiday every year.
Yeah.
So they were a year apart in ages. So we started taking them away, and we took them to Italy and Austria. We even took Andrew's mum to Australia so she could see her son there. And they got on so well, the two ladies.
They became best friends.
They became great friends. And the funniest thing was, we would be sitting by the side of a beautiful lake, and my mum would say something like, well, that house could do with some painting, couldn't it? It looks a bit shabby. I mean, you're looking at something that's 16th century.
Yeah.
And to me, it looked wonderful. Yeah. To my mum, it needed painting. And they were so close that they used to walk off and be chatting away. They didn't need us. All they needed was us to be around. And I think mainly where families are concerned, that's why they're not a burden, and you do care for them in your own way. Mm-hmm. And I think you make that time because you've got the respect that they are your grandparents or your elderly relatives. And I think that it's the way that we should look at elderly people. Not, as I said earlier, put them in a cupboard and say goodbye or anything like that.
It's easier that way.
It is easier, and I think it's lovely that it still happens here. And I think it would be nice if it happened in other countries as well.
Like we were talking before this conversation, you said that in England things are different and that you deal with retirement differently.
Absolutely.
Because here we have a very my very bad mindset. We think we have to work to live, and work is the most important thing in life. And actually, I heard a sentence once that said some people live for their jobs and some people work for their life. In Portuguese sounds a lot better, but
we either work to live or live to work.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. But anyways, you got the idea.
Yes, I got the idea.
So yeah, and we have this bad mindset because honestly, we waste much time working. I think that when work is more important than your life, you don't even think about your life the right way. You just think work, 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 and it begins to be very hard to even think about what about next year? What am I going to be doing? Or what if I lose my job? What am I going to do? And so when you retire and when you don't have anything to do, usually people look for something to work, something to do. And I can see that from my grandparents. They are retired, and they are the best part is that they have us.
Yes.
So now it's not much like that, but every Sunday at least they have to cook and clean and prepare everything for us to come. And they even have a little place in their house where they plant food and where they spend time there also. But they always have things to do, and they know a lot of people, so they have a lot of friends and people to be with. And honestly, some people that don't have that social life, um, they they begin to be sad and unhappy. Yeah,
very lonely. Yeah.
When you're lonely and you're thinking that you're miserable, when you're too busy being miserable, you don't even think about
anything else.
About how to be happy or what to do. So
we like to prepare for retirement. Prepared. We are prepared for our leisure time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will do some voluntary work. They will fill their times up. A lot of grandparents in England look after grandchildren. So they fill their time up with a lot of different things rather than thinking about work. Because I think we have the idea that we have worked all our life, we have paid all our taxes and all of our insurances, and now it is our time to enjoy the leisure time that we didn't have when we were working. And when you're bringing up families and you're working and the children are at school, you know, the precious time is at the weekends when you can have time with your family. If you're working all the time, you lose out on all that wonderful family time and with friends, etc. But I think that we have a different mindset that when we retire, we retire for a different type of life. And I think it's a nice way of life that we can actually get up every morning and thinking, well, we haven't got to do anything today if we don't want to.
Yeah.
Even if we had still been in England living, we would still have the same type of existence. We have no time constraints. We have no worries about getting something done. The only time that I have to have some time constraints now is when I'm coming to do some volunteer work. So like on a Friday, I'm going to do an ad now, for our coffee and books that we have here, I have to set the alarm to get up in time to get here.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's, to me, it's like having a routine job now. Coffee and books on a Friday morning. I've got to be up, out, and here.
Yeah.
So that's given me another string to my retirement in the fact that I know on a Friday morning on my calendar I'm not going to do anything else apart from come and deal with coffee and books and enjoy what we're doing, having all the different presenters and everything here. So we have a completely different mindset. We want to retire. We want to have leisure. We want to have time to enjoy. I took up paddleboarding when I moved here to Portugal. And the people at the sailing school down at Foz just laughed. And they said, "You have never done this before?" I went, "No. How do I stand on it?" And they just said, "Stand on it," and off you go. 17 times I had to fall off before I could actually stand on it and go. But I was determined to do it.
Yeah.
And loved it. So there's so many opportunities for retired people to do.
Yeah. For example, I was thinking, my grandmother is always saying, "Oh, I still have 2 years working." She still works. And then I can be free and do all the things that I want. But I know that when she ends her career, she will be always be cleaning her house
Yes.
and doing things and always being running from and doing
She'll
everything
find
else.
something else to do.
She can't relax.
Yeah.
She cannot relax. She has a lot of things to do. Honestly, if in my family, you can see much different sides of Portugal.
Yeah.
For example, it's I have my mother's family and my father's family are very different and have very different mindsets. And
Strange.
even I don't know, they got together, they had me. But yeah, it's very interesting to see that even if they're different, they get along and they're friends and everything. But even in getting old, they have different mindsets, which represents the differences between elderly people in our country, which is also very interesting because in homes like what we were talking before, you can see those differences, and it's very interesting to see and to speak with each one of them and see what they did when they were younger, what they did when they retired, and what is their family like, and it's very interesting to see.
There was a post on Facebook the other day about glamorous grandmothers, and it said, and it was from it was towards a 10-year-old, and it said something like, "When you look at me, do you see that I used to wear a mini skirt? Do you see that I used to dance all night? Do you see that I used to go off and play sports on a Saturday or something like that?" It was all to do with the perception that a 10-year-old would look at me and think you're an old lady, so you haven't done anything.
Yeah, you've always been.
You've always been old. You're my grandmother. So you know, our grandchildren, I'm sure they look at us and think, you know, you're just who you are, because they haven't known us
before
when we were younger. So it would be lovely to sit and talk to people and say, what did you do when you were 19, when you were 20? What were you doing? Even if they said, I worked on the land, I sowed potatoes in the field, it's still their life. What did you do as a leisure time? It's so nice to talk to people and find out what they actually did when they were younger.
You automatically start looking at them differently as people, not as old people.
Not as old people.
Yeah,
and I think it's a big thing once you can get some younger people like yourselves interested in the older generation, because the older generation has lived through some fantastic and some awful times that we will never hopefully touch wood live through.
And we are also living very beautiful and awful times.
Yes,
ourselves.
So our times are, you know, it's strange. The whole every history repeats itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, this pandemic has hit all of us really hard. I haven't seen my family since last March. Thankfully I have Facebook.
Yeah,
and WhatsApp,
that's a good thing.
I think that's the most wonderful thing for myself. And as an older person, I need to keep in touch with family and friends. I need to have that daily conversation with somebody, as well as my husband, because we are social people, and it's nice to actually still feel that you have something to give to
honestly,
everyone.
I think that our project started because we needed to socialize
I think that was like, we were like, okay, we have to deal with other people because we were just dealing with each
Well, we
other.
are social animals,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
look at us. We've been chatting nearly an hour, and it
Yeah.
seems like it's 10 minutes.
yeah,
So it's incredible. We do need to have this social interaction, and can't wait till the lockdown finishes when we can
Yeah.
start being our new normal again. It'd be fantastic.
yeah. I think that's an hour. It's more than enough. What do you think?
I think so. I think people will be switching off. But it's been great fun. It's been
Yeah.
lovely to actually talk and just chat. And I think this is a wonderful project for people to actually come and talk and learn about each other.
Yeah, and
Brilliant.
it was a very good perspective, listening to your perspective. Actually, I don't think that we talked much about how it works in your country.
I think we can do that another day.
Yeah.
There's always another day.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
that's what I was about to say. And you can talk about, maybe we can do what you do in your country here in Portugal. We can try.
Or I can tell you about parachuting or gliding or
Yeah, we can
silly things like that.
So
that I have done.
yeah, that's very interesting. I haven't done much.
So we will educate you and make you do things.
I'll go to another country for sure when I'm your age.
But that's lovely.
Yeah. So thank you for this conversation. It was very good.
It's been great fun. Thank you.
And I thought about things that I've never
thought about before.
It was very interesting. Thank you. I hope that it was very interesting for them too. Yeah, so next week we'll have another talk.
Yes,
right?
yes, another talk will be posted.
Yeah.
Next Monday at 7 o'clock. Watch this space.
Yeah.
And good night to everybody.
Bye.